have one of those moments where you're somewhere, and not that this is a pickup line, but that you're somewhere and you see somebody across the room and you want to deliver a pickup line, but you know that your pickup line isn't going to work? No? Come on now, be honest. Be honest. Be honest. Now, the reason I say this is because there's a moment where, as a minister, and you prep for what you plan to say, and then something else says, not today. It's like, but I practiced. Sort of. So, bear with me as we go on a ride, okay? Now, so for those who do not know, I have been experiencing a great many challenges as of lately. So between the herniated disc in the neck and the surgery that I have to have as a result of what the colonoscopist, it's not really what he is, but that's what he did. I don't remember what he's called, but you know what I'm talking about. And like, it's no polyps or anything, but it's something altogether different. However, there's still some surgical stuff. Then my mom recently was diagnosed with dementia, and there's stuff, and then there's the family stuff, and then there's all of those wonderful things that life says, you do remember you still have baggage, right? Because all of the trauma and stuff then wants to bubble up. So this morning, you know, for those who have seen me many times, normally I have some other accoutrements around my neck. Like I have my caduceus, and I have my eye of Agamotto, and I have my tiger's eye beads, and I don't have any of them today because I don't know where they're at. and when I couldn't find them, I was frustrated. I was like, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff? Where's my stuff? Did I lose my stuff? Where's my... Isn't it funny how quickly things can show up in our lives to remind us how good we're not? You know, like things show up to remind us that there's something about us that, blah. Like they're blah, just something. You know, you probably lost them. You probably left them in New York. No, I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't. But you're pretty sure, but you're not absolutely sure. There's always that something that pops up to remind you that in the midst of all the family drama related to mom and this diagnosis with dementia, is you would figure that family would come together. That I, as the youngest child, would be supported. That I would have connection. No. Which then, of course, all of the things related to abandonment issues and all of this stuff, betrayal and abandonment, Which brings me to today's specific topic. So last week I was at the Unity of New York at Symphony Space, Upper West Side. And the affirmation that they said that day like sort of hit me, like, And I'm the minister, and it's the, And the affirmation said, today, all things are working together to bless me. Now see, when you say all, honey, did you do all of your homework? Did you get everything on the grocery list? Like, all. There is no 99.9%. That's not all. That's not all. All things are working together to bless me. Okay, so then that means the stuff I'm missing right now. That means somehow my missing jewelry has to be working together somehow to bless me. Even though I don't see it. Even though this upcoming surgical thing, all things. Even though mom dementia, all things. Even though abandonment, all things. Where did you miss the fine print where it said all? all. And you signed right here, so you agreed to this. But there is no but. So, here we are. Theme for today, for those who, did anybody look at the cover of your program? Were you wondering what this meant? Yeah, why Fizzle? So did anyone guess? So Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, said, and I always love this quote, "I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me." Whew, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot. So sizzle, to be on fire, to be ablaze with, to be energized by. Enthusiasm, so let's back up a little bit. So, for those who know me, how many people in here, this is your first time seeing me? Did anybody warn you? No? Find the friend that invited you and make them buy you a cookie after this. So I love language. And one of the reasons that I love language is because it is so easy to use one word that on one side of the word, it brings up such wondrous feelings. And on the flip side of the word, it brings war. Like, one word can cause someone to want to fight or want to hug. And yet we use these words daily. We use language daily. So words, language always sort of like does something for me, especially since I use them, whether I'm using this thing or I'm using my hands to sign. But anyhow, I digress. Synonyms for zeal, because we don't often use that word in regular everyday life. Right? We don't usually say, Linda, I'm filled with such zeal today. She's like, what? Say it again? Right? So we don't usually use those words. So, words that we do use for zeal: passion, love, fervor, fire, vigor, energy, devotion, enthusiasm, eagerness, appetite, gusto, and intensity. So, once again, I fairly sizzle with passion, intensity, energy, love. How many times on an average day do we allow any of those to really be brought to the forefront of our mind that that's what we're feeling? We strive for it, but do we really do the work so that it becomes a new set point? Meaning, because at one time, remember, for those who, you've heard this, for those who are new, who this is first time, many years ago, I've had this very interesting relationship with death. And when I say that to say that I've been to well over 1,000 funerals, wakes, viewings, etc. in my 52 years of life, well over 1,000. From the young to the old, I've been to them all. And I never thought that I could be happy at a funeral. Until I did my spiritual work, and then when my brother Leslie died a couple of years ago, I was at the viewing and at the wake and at the funeral and stuff, and a part of me felt happy. Not happy that he was dead, but happy because it's what I am. So it brings me to this idea that is it possible to reference all things working together to bless me, even when life is saying, sit down. Even when stuff shows up that says, well, according to the medical professions, blah, 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 blah. Oh, man. Oh, that hurts. But I am no less filled with enthusiasm, intensity, love. Just because someone says something, just because there's a diagnosis of, just because a family member or someone leaves us, walks away, divorces us, whatever, does that have to mean we are less filled with love? Does it mean we are less creative, less filled with passion? Does it mean any of that? For many of us it does, because we allow it. We allow them to come to us with this cup and they say, I don't like you anymore, I'm leaving. Oh, take some of my love with you. Which is why when that movie, what was it, Jerry Maguire, And I really don't like this scene. I love it because they're saying it in sign, but I really don't like this. They're on the elevator and they say, "You complete me." And we have this idea of many of us are walking around as incomplete beings, waiting to find that person that completes us, instead of understanding that we are already complete. So there's no one that can come to us to steal our enthusiasm, our passion, our purpose, our love. It's what we are. So it can't be taken. Now, when things happen, emotions come up too. You feel certain things. So what I have realized recently, because I went to Pittsburgh to handle some power of attorney related stuff with my mom and my brother who's right above me. And while Tracy and I were in Pittsburgh, it was the anniversary of my father's death. Now, years ago, it would have hit me hard. And the funny thing is, while it didn't hit me hard the way it used to, I noticed that in that moment, I was experiencing depression. And have been since that date in October. Now, what does that mean? That means right here, right now, Ray is experiencing that which I would call depression. And yet, there's a part of me that understands that I can. Anybody in here work out? Like you go to the gym, you go for a walk or whatever, and at the end of it, you feel, you're like, oh my goodness, I am so tired. My leg hurts so much. But it's a good hurt. Like you're happy that you're in pain. What kind of sadomasochistic? You're happy that you're in pain because you worked out well. So it's possible to have this dichotomy of, I'm in such great pain and it feels so good. So in this moment, I understand that there's a part of me that can feel that which is depression. And there's a part of me that knows the truth of my being, that all of this that I said is what I am. And that this cannot change that. There's a gentleman that you may have heard of who said, I'm going to tell you what he said, you tell me who it is. That darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Who said this? Martin Luther King Jr. Depression cannot drive out that which is the truth of my being. Only this can heal and resolve that. So what I do is I acknowledge and recognize that this is unchangeable. This will go like the seasons. There's a spring, there's a summer, there's a fall, there's a winter, and there's spring again. This comes and ebbs and flows like the waves on a beach. And yet this is the ocean that never changes. This does not go away. So the more I acknowledge the truth of my being, the more I am able to step into this place of absolutely sizzling in my life. That I can feel grief and yet act a fool on the streets of New York City with Tracy. Stay tuned, there will be video I will post on Facebook pretty soon. Because one of the things that Tracy will always do when we go to any Party City, Halloween store, whatever, anywhere where there's a hat or a mask or a prop, you know me. So Tracy's filming me as we're in one of the stores there and I'm trying on wigs and wait, you'll see the video. That's all I'm going to say. But there is nothing that needs stop, even though there is a part of me that feels great grief and sadness with what my mother is experiencing. There is a part of me that feels great grief and sadness that I haven't spoken to a couple of my sons in almost a year. There is a part of me that feels great grief and sadness that my body is going through. The doctor has, what she said is, in this part of my hip, I'm experiencing arthritis or early arthritis, something or other. Yeah, I got you. I hear you. And the human part of me is like, well, oh, so that's what that pain is. Right there, that, okay. But I don't care. I don't care. Because I'm going to experience what I'm going to experience because that's what the body does. Allergy season, sometimes allergies happen. Does that mean I'm going to speak with dread and, oh man, it's spring, it's allergy season, and be miserable? Or it's fall and it's allergy season. Like I'm going to walk around miserable, anticipating the onset of whatever life is going to, or am I going to feel it and still experience the truth of my being, knowing it's all good? Because the more we can step into this, the more we can align with and know the truth of our being, and stand in the truth of our being, and speak the truth of our being, the more that this will rise and this will fall. It'll still be there. We're still going to experience certain things as humans, certain things in the flesh, and yet this does not determine how we live, move, and have our being. This determines how we live, move, and have our being. So that no matter what is going on the face of the planet, we are still able to stand in a place of truth, speak truth, know truth, walk the walk of those who understand that we are light workers, we are beings of great power. And see, therein lies another thing with this Charles Fillmore thing. In order to, because what did he say? To spring forth. Doesn't say to trot. He said to spring forth. That means 3 a.m., jump out of bed and go. Or whatever. Go, spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Every single human has something that we are here to be, do, and have, and share with the world, or we would not be here. Everyone has a song to sing. Everyone has a book to write, a poem, a something that we are here to bring to the world. Every single one of us. And I know that there are times when we don't feel that because life has kicked us down. Things have happened. Our faith has been diminished. And that's all well and good. Because what it says is, as long as you have faith the size of a mustard seed, which is about and I know that you have at least that much faith. I know it. You know how I know it? You're here. And I don't just mean you're here, in this sacred place. You trust the chair that's holding you up. That's faith. No one is saying, is it going to hold me? I don't know. How old is this chair? I don't know. I put on a pound yesterday and a pumpkin muffin. I don't know. Like none of us were worried about or thinking about, is this sturdy enough? None of us did that. None of us tested the structural integrity of the walls to make sure the ceiling, none of us did that. We walked in. How many of us questioned, well, the car, I don't know, well, let's see, The fact that you did that means that you trusted the possibility of. Or you wouldn't have put with some of us, it's a push button. If you've got a fancy car, it's a push button. Pretty soon it's going to be on. But it's a turn or a push for right now. The fact that you did that says you trusted the possibility of. That right there says you have enough faith. You already have enough faith. So now the question is, how do I apply that faith to all of the places in my life that are showing up to be painful, griefful, depressful? Yeah, I'm making up words at this point, but you get my point. Whatever this is that is filling me with, whatever that stuff is, how do I now apply this thing called faith to that? And one of the things that Charles says, Charles Fillmore that is, let's go with, if you are given to worry and anxiety, and this is from Adam's Smashing Power of the Mind, chapter 9. If you are given to worry and anxiety, think about the fearless confidence and trust of the Spirit. This will at once relieve your mind of the thoughts that have stirred within you. And the power of the Spirit will begin its work, straightening out all of your affairs. If you are overwhelmed with material work and if you are overwhelmed with the material work and the call of the outer world, stop and concentrate in the I am and say, I am spirit. I do not believe in matter or material conditions. I have power because I know that all power is in divine mind. See, one of the things we don't do is we let stuff happen and we don't challenge it with. In the same way that the television show, What Would You Do? I think that's what it's called, What Would You Do? Yeah. You familiar with it? So there's a scenario, they set the scenario up and they film it to see what would people do if there's a table at the restaurant and these grandparents are berating their grandchildren for being gay, and then the grandparents get up to walk away, and then like, what are the people going to do? Are they going to say anything, or are they going to just, I can't believe, and mumble to themselves? And so you get to see how people respond in various situations. There was one where there was a young man in a park, and he was attempting to break a chain on a bike to steal the bike. And everybody called the cops on him. They're like, oh, yeah, some guy tried to steal a bike. They switched it out and made it a very attractive young lady. And he got to the point where there were some guys like, let me help you get the chain off. And so then they asked them, why were you helping her? And she told you it wasn't her bike. And you still helped her anyway. So we know that there are things that are going to happen in life. And one of the things that I love about this show is it asks me, it begs the question of me, what is mine to do? What am I going to do when things, and it doesn't have to be something outward like that, but anything that happens, what is mine to do? A couple of years ago, for those who have already heard this story, you know, the Washington, D.C. story, when I was called that certain word in the middle of the day. What was mine to do then? Pray. To know the truth of my being, knowing that that particular word has no effect on me. It does not change who I am or what I am. And then to pray and know the truth of their being, because no one wants to hurt, harm another human being unless they themselves are hurting. Amen. No, it's not a natural inclination for someone to want to cause harm to any other living thing just for the sake of, I am more powerful than you, Mr. Ant. It's not natural. It's not natural for another human being to call names, to berate, to harm. It's not natural. We only do it because we feel hurt. And so our challenge is, how and what is mine to do in the midst of this feeling hurt? When it comes to me, what is mine to do? And so one of the things I would like us to do is, if you are willing to, because it puts wings to, it puts feet to, it puts ground to this practice, is recently there has been a lot of energy around degrading of our sisters, our moms, our aunts, cousins, our nieces, our spouses. So what I would like us to do is, for all of the women, to please stand. And then what I would like you to do is at some point make eye contact with one of the men, some of the men somewhere in this room. And gentlemen, what I would like for you to do is repeat after me. Ready? I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. Beloved women, I cannot know and do not know what it is to walk your walk. I do not know what it is to live your experience. I do not know what it is to be shunned, quieted, or dismissed, disqualified, or ignored. I do not know what it is to routinely not have my story be believed. While I do not know what it is to have these experiences, I do know that I can take responsibility right here and right now to create a safe place in this spiritual community and say to you clearly and directly, men, once again, I see you. I hear you. Your voice matters to me. The moment we, and you may be seated, the moment we begin to embody what this spiritual practice means and we are willing to walk the walk, to take accountability and responsibility and not just spiritual bypass, spiritual malpractice, to put it onto someone else and make it about what they need to do, what someone else's job is. But the moment we bring it upon ourselves and realize that there is a power far greater than we will ever understand in this human flesh that is giving us the ability to spring forth with such power and enthusiasm and love and passion and creative ability to do what is ours to do. The moment we step forward and are willing to do that, we will make this heaven on earth. It is so, and so it is. Amen.